As of the filming of this, we are less than a month away from Cedar Point's opening day, which will be Saturday, May 4th, 2024. So that means that there's a very good chance that you are planning your trip to the park for the season. So what we're here to do is give you the complete rundown from the beginning of planning until when you leave the park for the night. We're going to go over everything for you, make it nice and easy in one little package. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, at the end of this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up before you're on your way out of here. And if you're not already a subscriber, what are you doing? Make sure you go down, subscribe to this channel, join this community, helps us out a ton. And if you get done with these videos, you go through binging all our videos and you're like, I want even more. Well, we have good news for you. There's a channel membership page where people get things like exclusive shout outs like you see here on the screen, and tons of exclusive videos and pictures and all sorts of content like that. So definitely worth checking out.
Oh, yeah.
Now that that's all out of the way, let's get into this video and help you plan your Cedar Point trip for summer 2024. First thing you got to do is decide when you're going to go to the park.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there's two categories to break this down in: crowd size versus amenities. Now, you're going to get one or the other typically. You can base your trip on time whenever there's the least amount of crowds or when there's the most things to do at the park. So if you want to go based on crowd size, we will say anytime, usually middle of the week, early, mid-May, up until late May, all through May pretty much, into the second half of August. Those are usually the times that are best to go as far as crowds because kids are in school in the local area and people just don't visit the park quite as much. Now, keep in mind that there are a lot of school trips that will go to the park at the end of May, but they're there in the morning and then tend to leave by later afternoon, so you'll still have a good amount of time at the park whenever the school trips are all gone. And we have an extra special pro tip for you. If you want to get the most out of your time at Cedar Point with the least amount of crowds, the best time to go to Cedar Point is that weekend in between, and this is in September because it's after Labor Day. So it's the weekend right after Labor Day and right before they start Halloweekends. It's kind of a transitional period.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the park isn't like in its normal summer phase, but it's also not in its full Halloweekends phase, but you will see some Halloweekend stuff start to come out. So it's kind of a weird time at the park, but it is absolutely dead. Like there's nobody there.
Other than crowd size, you have to think about things to do. So if you want to get the most out of your trip and have the most things to do, like the water park being open, different kinds of shows at all the theaters that they have, even though they have been cutting back their entertainment budget, they still have things going on. The best time to go is in between probably late June through all the way to like Halloweekends, because Halloweekends is an event in itself, obviously, and a lot of fun. But those are like the best times to go. Avoiding weekends if you can, avoid Saturdays. Anytime that you can avoid a weekend at any amusement park, it's for the best. Even if you're not going to get the best like low crowd experience, you'll still get a better experience as far as lower crowds, and you'll get all the things like the water park opens and Memorial Day weekend. So you get access to that, and like I said, all the shows and stuff like that. So
yeah, that real full package is like right in the heart of summer.
So ultimately, you'll just have to weigh the options with yourself. Which one is more important, the lower crowds or all the amenities and festivities and all the things Cedar Point has to offer? Now that you've figured out when you're going to go to Cedar Point, now it's time to find out exactly where you're going to stay when you visit the park. There are many options, all the way from the most expensive on-site properties all the way to some off-site properties that are a lot more cheaper. If you're just concerned about cost, there are plenty of nice places to stay around the park that you can get for around $60 to $100 a night. They're off property. You don't get any special perks. You don't get any sort of early entry that comes with some of the other properties that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But you'll save a ton of cash by staying at one of these places.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that you want a little bit of cost effectiveness, but you can go up a little bit higher in your budget. You can stay at a place like Hotel Breakers Express. That technically isn't on property. It's down the causeway and you actually have to drive to it. There's no transportation. You can't walk there. You can't get a shuttle or anything like that. So you still have to drive into the park down the causeway, but you do get things like early entry. and it's technically a Cedar Point property, so you get all those benefits.
Yeah, that's a very in-between hotel. It's not a motel, but it's not the very luxury hotel.
Yeah, and you can get that for on the average of around $140 a night. Now, keep in mind, all the prices that we're going to quote you on this isn't like a end-all be-all. This isn't going to be the exact price. These are the general prices that you're going to get through most of the year. Obviously, special events and weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah, things fluctuate.
Can change these prices, but this is a roundabout price for you to get an idea of what these cost. The next step up above breakers, where you would still get things like early entry, is Sawmill Creek Resort. That is even further off property. It's probably about like a 10-minute or so drive
15, yeah.
From Cedar Point. But it's a really nice property. They have a golf course on site and all sorts of stuff. And that's going to run you up around $200 a night. So that's a little bit of a jump up from there. Keeping around that price of around $200 a night is Castaway Bay. Now, Castaway Bay is owned by Cedar Point, but it's its own indoor water park. So you'll get access to the entire indoor water park, and you get the things like early entry. So that's around $200 a night also. So now if you want to start bumping things up, you could stay at Breakers. Breakers is the main hotel on the property there at Cedar Point, and that will run you around $350 a night, but you're actually on site. So you wake up, come out of your room, walk straight into the park, and if you're there for a few days, you can walk back and take some breaks, eat, and they have things like saunas and swimming pools that are designed just for the guests of that hotel.
Yeah, it's very, very nice. And starting this year, they're going to have an event, Boardwalk Nights. And going to that event is very easy when you stay at Breakers, because you can party all night long and then just walk over to your hotel.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about leaving the peninsula. It's definitely a very convenient place to stay. Now, another place that is on the peninsula that's a very convenient place to stay that is the most expensive option, you have Lighthouse Point. Now, you can get a cabin that will run you around $400 a night, or you can get a cottage that runs you around $800 a night. Now, those are the most expensive options in this whole thing. Plus, they have RV parking where you can bring your own RV and park, but I'm not exactly sure how much it costs to park your RV. So if that's something that you were thinking about doing, that's something that you'll have to look up on your own. But as far as the Lighthouse Point, those are the most expensive, but you're staying in like your own little place. Like you're not in a hotel. They're separate buildings from one another. And again, you can like walk straight to the park and back and forth and stuff. So I've had some friends stay there in the past and they highly recommend it, say it's a really nice place to stay. Okay, everyone, figured out when you're going, figured out where you're staying. Now you have to figure out how you're going to get in. You have day tickets versus one of their 3 different season pass options. Now, a day ticket is going to run you around $50, and that's online only. It'll cost you a lot more if you go to the gate and try to purchase there. And keep in mind, parking is around $25. Last time I checked, not 100% sure. A lot of places are jacking up parking prices this year, so maybe that'll be something Cedar Point will do. But it'll be around $25 or $30. So it's your day ticket and the price of parking, and you don't get any special discounts or anything like that. You don't get any early entry or anything. You just get into the park, and you don't get into the water park at all if the water park is open. That is a separate admission. But one thing they do have, they sometimes throw out some options where you can like include like a dining plan for the day and all sorts of different like add-ons to your daily ticket. But maybe you decided like, hey, you know what? I don't want a day ticket. I'm going to go for a few days. So maybe a season pass is the best option. They have 3 different options for you. Starting from the lowest tier, they have the Summer Pass. Summer Pass is currently, as we're filming this, around $120. And that includes your parking and your entrance into the park all through Labor Day. So if you're just taking like a summer vacation, you're going to be there for 3, 4, 5 days or something during the summer, then that might be perfect for you because you don't need anything for Halloween weekends. But if you think like, hey, you know what, I might take a trip back and I might want to try to go for Halloween weekends, then you definitely want to look into their next step up. That is the Gold Pass. Currently, that is $145, and you get the free parking. All these passes come with the free parking, and you get discounts on merchandise and food in the park. So that could save you money if you're planning on buying some souvenirs on your trip to Cedar Point. And next up is the Prestige Pass. This, as of filming, is $350, but you get 2 free Bring a Friend passes. So if you got a couple people that you want to bring along, that might save them the money, and you could help maybe split the cost of the Prestige Pass. Can work out something like that. You also get 1 free single-use fast lane, so that means that you get a little ticket. When you come into the park, you got to go and redeem it.
And that's every time you come.
Yes.
Every time you come, you get 1 single fast lane.
And so you can use that for any ride of your choosing, including Top Thrill 2 this year. So you can just go in line, and then they take the ticket, and you get to skip the line to 1 ride for the day. You also get preferred parking. You get early entry, which that is the only pass that gives you early entry unless you add the All Park Passport add-on to your Gold Pass. Now, the All Park Passport add-on gets you entry to all their amusement parks that Cedar Fair currently owns at the moment. So your Kings Island, your Kings Dominion, your California's Great America.
Yeah, parks all across the United States and 1 in Ontario.
So if you had the Gold Pass with the All Park Passport, that will get you early entry. But if you just have the regular Gold Pass, you don't get early entry. And that's where the Prestige Pass is the only one that gets you that. And it gets you entrance into their VIP lounge, which it looks like they are building a new structure. Before, it was just a little tent over by Millennium, but it looks like they're actually building something this year, so it should be a little bit nicer.
And really all the VIP lounges is just some couches and some TVs and free water and snacks and stuff like that.
Like chips and stuff like that. I mean, we've utilized it a few times, even though we don't have a Prestige Pass, but whatever. We've utilized it a couple times. All right, people, I hope you're not getting tired because we got a few more things to help you out with in this video so you know exactly when you're going. You know where you're staying, and you know how you're going to get into the park. Now you need to decide what add-ons you're going to get. Earlier, I brought up the All Park Passport. I brought up food plan. So there's all sorts of options that you can add on to your either season pass, or you can get a daily version of it onto your daily ticket. Now, if you're getting a daily ticket and you want to add a food plan onto that, which means that you get to eat for every 90 minutes. There are 2 options. There's one that's $34 and another one that's $46. And the difference is one gets you things like snacks and drinks, and the other one is just a meal and a side. But all daily add-on meal plans give you the meal every 90 minutes that you're at the park.
Yeah, so it's one price for a meal every 90 minutes. And it doesn't work for every food in the park, but it works for the majority of them.
Or you can get one linked to your pass. If you get like a Gold Pass or Prestige Pass, you can get that linked onto that, and that's a little bit more money because it can be used all season. Yeah. And if you get the all season one, it drops down from every 90 minutes to every 4 hours. So you can basically only get 2 meals per day if you have the dining plan linked to your season pass. So that's one thing to consider when you're trying to make any sort of decision like this. Another add-on that is probably our favorite add-on, because we get the season long of this, it is Fastlane. Fastlane is a wristband that you get. You put it on your wrist, and then that gives you entrance to a separate queue away from the normal line that is always shorter than the regular line. We've done tons of videos on how much time it can save you. Now, we've been there on some like really busy Saturdays, and the lines for things like Maverick and that can get like 30 minutes or so. But the regular lines are going to be like almost like 2 hours long. So you're still saving a lot of time. So this isn't going to get you like exactly like right up to the station immediately.
Yeah, because some parks, their skip the line systems, you just get on immediately. Yeah, Cedar Point, it's not always like that, but it's still always faster than the regular line, which could get up to 2 hours sometimes.
The Fast Lane is an add-on, so that means that it is an extra purchase on top of your ticket or pass or whatever you have. And like we said, we have season long, so you have the option to add a season long onto your season pass, or you can buy one by the day, and they cost anywhere between like $150 to even I've seen them as much as $250 a day on a busy Saturday in the middle of summer.
Yeah, they always change per day depending on how busy it's going to be.
And with the fast lane, keep in mind that there are two tiers. This is fast lane and fast lane plus. Fast lane has a whole list of rides that it can get you on. And then the fast lane plus are those rides plus essentially 5 other roller coasters at the moment. Used to only be 4, but right now is Millennium Force, Maverick, Steel Vengeance, Valraven, and Top Thrill 2.
Yeah, so you cannot ride those 5 roller coasters with the normal fast lane. You can only ride those with the fast lane plus.
Another add-on is something they call Fun Picks. Now, most every ride that is at the park, they take your picture while you're on the ride, and then you go out and into like a little building, and then you get to see your picture up on the screen. And they can charge you by the picture, or you can get a daily Fun Picks. And that is about $35 for the day. And that means that you get to get unlimited digital downloads, so you can get emailed to you, so you can do whatever. You can post it to your Twitter or Facebook or whatever and be like, hey, look, I was at Cedar Point and I rode Magnum XL 200. Are you guys impressed? Like we said, all the add-ons are on top of your pass or daily ticket. So budget for that. Don't think that any of them are included unless you do find a deal that I spoke about earlier when they have maybe like a daily ticket with like a food plan added onto it. But any other time, those are on top of your regular ticket. So now let's move on to the next category. Now you got to find out, now you're in the park, you have to find out, what am I going to do now that I'm in the park?
Yeah, I'm here, but like, what do I do?
You heard us mention early entry earlier with some of the hotel properties and with a couple of the season passes and season pass add-ons. So you might be asking, what exactly is early entry? So if you don't know, early entry is where you get into the park 1 hour prior to the park opening to the regular guests. So this gets you a head start on the certain rides that they open. Now they only do open a certain amount of rides. So this year, I believe it's Millennium Force, Gatekeeper, Wild Mouse,
Iron Dragon, and then everything, all the flat rides on the boardwalk, I think.
Yeah, so there's flat rides on the boardwalk.
Each year they do something different. And I definitely think that the early entry now is a little bit worse than it was like years ago, but it's still not bad.
It's definitely fallen off from the heyday of Maverick, Steel Vengeance, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you can get in and get on Wild Mouse, get on Gatekeeper, go over, ride Millennium or something like that, especially Millennium Force because it's a lower capacity ride. It doesn't pump through the people like some of the other rides like Gatekeeper and Valraven and stuff like that. So if you can get over there and get 1 or maybe even 2 rides on it before the day even starts, then that's just a bonus for you.
Oh, yeah.
And it saves you time later on in the day so you don't have to spend your time waiting in line once again. One thing to mention about early entry, it is available every single operating day that Cedar Point is open. So it doesn't matter if it's opening day all the way to the last day of Halloween weekends.
Cedar Point never goes a day where early entry doesn't happen.
So if you're looking to book a hotel room and it has early entry and you're not sure if early entry is available that day, the answer is yes, it's available that day. So go ahead and book and get yourself your early entry. Now, what rides are a must in the park? If you're a thrill seeker, basically you can't go wrong with any of the larger roller coasters.
Yeah.
As you walk down the midway, you'll see them on the left of you, on the right of you, behind you, in front of you, all over the place. Can't go wrong with Steel Vengeance. It's a world-class roller coaster. Maverick, everyone seems to enjoy Maverick. Valraven, Millennium Force, the very first Giga coaster.
Top Thrill 2, the new coaster for 2024.
But there's also a couple sleepers in the park that you don't want to miss that you might overlook. There's Blue Streak, the old 1964 PTC Woody.
It is
up in the front of the park.
It is the oldest roller coaster at the park, and it is a great ride. It is very smooth, gives you fantastic airtime. Definitely ride row 11. That is the magic seat.
And also, we do enjoy Gemini. We highly recommend sitting because it's a racing roller coaster, so you have a blue train and a red train. We highly recommend splitting up your group, sitting on either side, and then you can high-five during the ride and stuff like that. Some people have even been known to take out maybe like $1 bill or something and pass it along back and forth.
I never heard of anybody doing that. That's rather interesting.
So people might do stuff like that. They're fun little things to do while you're on the ride that makes the ride a little bit more enjoyable, but the ride itself is still fun.
Yeah.
And also, don't skip the flat rides. So many
No.
people go and look at roller coasters, but there are tons of flat rides. There's Pipe Scream, Skyhawk, Max Air, all sorts of things.
Power Tower, Windseeker, there's a ton.
So many flat rides at this park, so you definitely don't want to miss out on those. If you're there multiple days, make sure you get on at least most of these because they are a lot of fun. In some cases, a lot more fun than some of the roller coasters in the park. And while you're in the park, you're going to get hungry, so you're going to need to eat. Now, this is really just a preference from person to person, so don't really have much to say about this. They have things from the front of the park all the way to the back of the park. They got farmhouse, they got the Grand Pavilion, they got pizza places, they got everything that you can imagine. So,
and a Starbucks. They do have a Starbucks there, just for everyone to know.
They got sweets up in the front. They got all sorts of stuff.
And everywhere in the park. It's not like there's one area dedicated to restaurants and all that. Everywhere scattered around the park, you'll find some sort of restaurant.
So our best advice is to maybe just go on the website and look and see exactly what they have, or just kind of venture through the park and peek in and see what the places have, because food like that is such a preference to each person. We figure there's not much to go into. But now we can go on to the next category. If maybe you're not a thrill seeker, you want stuff to do at the park, maybe you're with people that are thrill seekers, or you just wanted to go to the park just to experience it. There used to be more things to do. We did a video a couple years ago all about the things to do at the park for non-roller coaster riders.
Yeah, but things have changed because Cedar Point has really kind of taken that away, even though they're trying to build a lot of stuff that isn't for thrill seekers, but at the same time they're taking a lot of stuff away. So it's really weird.
A couple options have left, but there's still things to do. There's still the train, there's still the barnyard, there's still the beach, all sorts of things to kind of like hang out.
Lots of different types of shows, whether it's just in the summer or during Halloween weekends. There are tons and tons of shows to go see.
And there's lots of smaller rides.
And a giant arcade. There's a humongous arcade at the front of the park.
They have putt-putt. They have a mirror maze.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So definitely stuff to fill out your day if you're not a thrill seeker at Cedar Point. Now, next is a strategy when you're in the park. People always ask us, like, okay, I'm visiting Cedar Point for the first time. What should I do? Like, how should I maneuver around the park in order to make the best of it? Unfortunately, there's not one foolproof way to say that you're for sure going to have the best day, because rides break down and things happen.
Yeah, so there's no way that we can say, do this, do this, do this.
But a couple small tips that we can give you. Anytime that people walk into an amusement park, the most common thing to do is to look at the first ride that you see and be like, oh, hey, let's go jump on that. It's like here.
The first ride that you will come across would be Raptor. And Raptor gets one of the longest lines in the park at the beginning of the day. It could have up to a 2-hour line. But if you ride it in the evening, at night, like right before the park closes, it will be a complete walk-on. There will be no one in the queue, and I've done that plenty of times. It's been a packed day, but I rode Raptor at night. There's nobody there.
So I guess our advice, what we're saying, is kind of start towards the back of the park. I know it's kind of a generic thing to say, but it really is one of the few tried and true things. Head to the back or head towards the middle of the park and start hitting up those things, and avoid anything in the front, because like Milo said, those things will clear out more towards the end of the day. And we brought up that rides break down. So if you do see a ride broken down, one of the things that we always do whenever we're at either Cedar Point or another park, we keep our eye on that ride, maybe ride a couple things nearby, and look for any testing. If you see the ride testing, especially with workers, because if a ride is broken down and they're cycling through empty trains, that could mean that it's about to open any second now, or it could mean that it's not going to open for the entire day. But if you see workers on the ride, sometimes they'll put people on right before a ride is about to open after a shutdown. So if you see that, it is smart to rush over to that ride, because a lot of times people have already left the queue that were in the queue whenever it broke down. People start heading out if it's been down for a while. And there might be some people waiting outside the queue. But if it's not too long, then you can jump in there and get like a pretty quick ride on a ride if you catch it right at the right time. And another thing with lines is that they can be very sporadic. You can go to like a flat ride like Pipe Scream we brought up, and you can have a half an hour or longer line at one moment, and then you can leave and come back like 2 hours later, and it can be a 5-minute wait.
Yeah.
It is advisable to check out some lines. I mean, we don't want you like walking all over the park aimlessly and not riding things, because the point is to get in and start getting in line and start riding things. But if you see something smaller with a longer line, chances are that line will go down some point in the day. So maybe wait and go and check it out at a later time. So now you've spent your entire day at Cedar Point. You are exhausted. You are ready to head out. So now it is time to end your day.
Now, one thing to know is that while the park may close, the beach does not. So you can, one thing that I do like to do is even after the park closes, you can head out and go to the beach and hang out on the beach for a little bit after the park closes. So that's definitely something to keep in mind.
And if you're staying on property like Breakers or Lighthouse Point or something, then that makes it even easier because you walk along and hang out on the beach and then go straight to your room, walk back. Or if you're staying off property, another thing that does is it lets crowds clear out and traffic clear out. Because one thing to keep in mind about Cedar Point, that it's on a peninsula, so there's only 2 roads leading in and out. You have the main causeway, and then you have the Chaussee. The Chaussee is a little bit less populated, not as many people go there. A lot of houses on that road, so there aren't many people that go in and out that way.
That's not the main way to go, but it definitely can be quicker most of the time.
But at the same time, quicker doesn't mean absolutely quick, because if you leave right at the heart of the ending of the day on a busy day, then yeah, you can definitely run into some traffic.
Absolutely.
Even if you're staying at Breakers Express down the causeway,
it could still take a very long time. Now, this isn't every night, but there's been plenty of times where it could take forever to leave.
Saturday night, Hollow weekends, definitely a time that
that's the worst. That's one of the worst.
Yeah, if you're in the parking lot, it's going to take you forever to get out of it. One piece of advice that we have is ending your day, maybe ending it a little bit earlier than maybe some other people.
Or ending it a little bit later than some other people.
Exactly.
Like I said, you can walk on the beach a little bit. So, yeah, a little bit earlier, a little bit later, whichever you think would be better for you.
And also at Cedar Point, like most other amusement parks, if you are in line to a ride right before they close, they will cycle through and let you clear through and let you still ride.
Yeah, the rides don't close when the park closes. The lines close when the park closes. So as long as you're in line, you'll be able to ride.
So if the park closes at 8 o'clock, if you're in line by 7:55, then if it's a half an hour wait, then you get to wait, and then you're out of the park half an hour after the park closes. All right, everyone, you can breathe now. We just made it through the start of your planning all the way into you leaving the park. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like we said earlier, give it a thumbs up. Now that you watched the whole thing all the way through, you definitely want to give it a thumbs up. You definitely want to subscribe, do all that stuff. So thank you for watching this video. We always appreciate everyone that watches all our videos. So we'll see you guys next time right here on
Beach Cliff Studios.
See you guys.